Okay. So, I mean, when I spoke to Professor Brajesh, thank you, Professor Brajesh, for talking to me and bringing me here. When I spoke to Professor Brajesh, he was like, "Hey, do you want to come in and give a talk to folks in my institute and just talk to them, figure out, help them with some of the security development that you do?" And I was actually talking to Professor Brajesh about, hey, you know what? Security landscape has changed. We don't do the security the way rest of the world does. And in fact, before this job at Yelp, we used to do security differently too. So every organization has got a very different way of doing security. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like an interesting topic. Maybe we could chat about that with the students. And Professor Brajesh said, yep, let's do that. So here we are. So again, thank you so much for bringing me here. Uh, it's amazing to talk to students. I love talking to students. I do have some academia relationships, with IIT Indore, and I would like to have more. Feel free to hit me by. So yeah, that's my profile. I'm going to be boring you today or speaking you today. So I hope you've had enough water. You're well hydrated, or had some breakfast or something. So basically, if you look at security landscape today, I don't know if you've heard about the new age startups in India. I think Big Basket is like 3 or 4 years old. Ola came in like 6 years back, and Uber is also not very old. Airbnb is not very old. These are new companies who have been developing software at a very rapid rate. And this is just to name a few. I know there's a lot of those companies in India as well. And they kind of keep developing software at a very modern pace, very modern pace. They ship to production every day. So I think many, many times in a day, to be very honest. And way back in the day when I started my career, I started as, a Linux operating system engineer with IBM. So we used to take kernel code. We used to do nightly builds. We used to test them. They used to be like weeks of testing cycle, weeks of development cycle. And then we used to deploy them and call it like ready for release. So the world has changed. In the last 15, 16 years, I've been around and the world has changed. People ship every day. When people ship every day, they're going to make changes every day. So if you look at the software development process, it's gone pretty rapid. It's gone very rapid. And think about it this way. You are RBI and you are changing, you're building every day. How would you, and how do you think your security risk factors are going to change? I would say if your development is happening at cruising velocities, yeah, investors want it, your company wants it, you want to get more customers and whatnot, your security concerns are growing at escape velocity. Yeah, it may or may not be true. So let's figure out if it's true. So probably what we'll do is, let's go ahead and create $1 billion startup. It's very easy. We've got nice students. We've got great faculties right on the call. And there is a little bit of me, which may have seen a bit world outside. So we can get together and let's team up. So let's say, a couple of students come back tomorrow morning to the faculties and say, you know what, sir, we don't like Kubernetes. I'm just picking Kubernetes because that's the latest and greatest. So we don't like Kubernetes. Do we really need to get all the pods? Do we really need to get all the binaries and libraries when operating system already has it? Back in the day with virtual environment, they could do something. Or how about we stop packing it and only calling references and we just get the logical references, something like that, So let's say 2 or 3 students walk up to one of the faculty and they start writing the next, whatever is the next of Kubernetes. All of a sudden, they want to make a difference. They realize that yes, Kubernetes is pretty heavy. It's too much to do. Do you want to make it simpler? So you start experimenting. So once you start experimenting, you realize that yep, this can work. And then you write your hello world or maybe one of the high-end parser or maybe a machine learning interface, whatever you write on top of it, and see it works. Once you've worked with it, you would like to tell the world, hey, you know what? I have something new, which is going to be the new technology. Do you want to experiment it? Trust me, the industry today is way more open than what industry was every day before today. And that is the rate at which industry has been growing and the acceptance has been growing and people are more open to change. So customer says, yes, let's go ahead and try it. So now you got to build it. Now 3 developers can only do so much and you want to build a production grade stuff which can be used in production. So you need a team. And this part is very important. Way back in college, when I look back at my days, It was a group of individuals who had a lot of potential and they could create the real difference. And they had the zeal in them, they had time with them, they had energy with them, and they had most creative ideas with them because they were new. So you go back and you say, you know what, I need some guys on the infrastructure side. You hire a few people from your own college. You hire a few people for networking and, application development and data side and whatever you need. So now you have a team. Now you want to make sure you can buy your pizza. I mean, just for the heck of it. Or maybe you can pay your AWS billing or Azure billing or whatever you're using. And you'll be like, yeah, let's get some money, We're going to invest some money into it, and only so much we can invest being students. So you go and talk to somebody and say, okay, I give you like $100,000, maybe 1 CR, 2 CR to do the seed fund. So you get the free seed fund, you get the first check, and after first customer, you can go out and tell industry that, it works. We have tested it with customers. We have something that you can also try. All of a sudden, you would have 100 customers. Wow. That once you have 100 customers, the investors would come to you. See the difference. When you had before first customer, you went to investors to get some money. And now since you have 100 customers who are ready to pay you, there's a lot of investors who would come back and say, hey, you know what? I want to fund in your company. I like what you guys are doing. I've got a lot of network in Silicon Valley or whatever, and I can help you grow. So let's get started. They would give you like tons of money, maybe like $50 million, $100 million. And you would be thinking, what should you do? So very obviously, you would go ahead and expand your business. You would hire more people from other colleges, or maybe industry, or maybe, from research institutes, and your organization will grow. But, at that day, if you get $100 million funding, you would be like $1 billion organization. Now we're talking about hundreds of people doing a lot of development every day, changing the landscape of production. Now, and you have got pipeline of customers who want like, oh, you did A, give me B, C, D, E, F as well. I want the next generation feature. And people love doing features. People love doing something new and pushing it to production. What people do not look at is when we change anything, it's just like, your boundary wall in the house, or maybe your window. If you change your window, you need to find a new lock. You need to find a new way to lock it. So in this rapid adoption, something gets left behind sometimes is security. And all of a sudden, one day somebody hacks into your system and you realize, oh, our reputation's gone. Your customers don't want to give you data. Let me put an example. If tomorrow we know that there's a breach in Facebook and anybody in the world can access your photos and all your public information without logging in, how would you feel? How about Twitter? Anybody can just go use your handle and tweet from your Twitter. How would that feel? Yeah, I mean, it's going to be bizarre, right? So there's an authority associated with you. There's a personality associated with you, and somebody gets access. So that level of access to be you and do things that you do. I mean, it's fine, but if somebody does things that you don't do, then it's a bigger problem. So that's where the industry is getting. So the new age software development companies, they kind of do very rapid development, and if you have to build security, you would get tired. Now let's think about it. I mean, you may have picked up Python, Java, whatever, Node.js, and all of a sudden tomorrow, new Node.js comes in, or Python 2 was just got retired, and you have to move everything to Python 3. And if you build your security using all of that custom development, then probably you're going to rewrite everything, which means like another 6 months of project. And in 6 months of project, the technology is already changing. So developers will keep writing new features. You would keep writing new security work. At a moment, it will be like Mount Everest. You just can't climb it. So that's what we'll probably look at today. What can we do differently? What can we do creatively? And this is one of the ideas. Being youngsters, being new to industry, with a lot of energy, what can you do differently to secure the next generation startup, the next generation billion-dollar companies? Okay. All right. So this is a very simple example I pulled up last night. So does anybody know what's on the left side of the screen? I think it's written there. Yeah. And this is the iconic Crawford Market in Bombay. or Mumbai, as you call it now. And this is the 1950s when you had the same building. I mean, nothing changed. You had very empty streets. And then if you look at 2020, of course, this is 2020 before February, to be very honest. I mean, now it's all empty. So you have the same building, and look at the crowd, look at the number of people there, look at the number of actors in the picture. And based on actors, assume the things that can go wrong. Let's look at the softer side of things. I'm going to take early days when I was new in the industry. That's like maybe 2005, 2006. This is how a software design looked like. Oh yeah, you need to have an interface, and you need to have software connection, and you need to have a data layer, and that's the basics. That's it. That's what we're trying to code it back in the day. Now look at the current software landscape. You have endpoints, you have got data, you have got analytics on data. You still do your processing, you still do your storage, you probably store differently. You throw some part of data in the cloud, you throw some part of data on the premise. You get logs at the rate that was not heard of. Back in the day, like 10 years before, banks used to have a terabyte of data. And we used to think, oh, 1 terabyte of data? That's like, you need 4 hours to process 1 terabyte of file. What happens today with Apache Spark or Flink or whatever you use? Oh yeah, we can do it in 5 minutes. And Spark has got multiple modes today. You can run it on the live modeling. You can run it on batch modeling. You can run it on near live modeling. So there's like multiple stuff that came out with Spark recently. So see the way industry is changing, and that's how the complexity is changing. Let's go further. All right. So I was talking about the actors. The most important thing that I missed about is what those actors can do. With every actor, you give a level of authority. Let's say if it's an API layer service, it can be a microservice or an old monolith service, it's a service. So at the service, what can you do? Oh, it's a service? You know what, let's try to break it. It's very simple, flood it with requests, and it accepts requests from everywhere. What would happen? I think it would die. I mean, there's only so much it can take. So it's bound to die. So what you need is, you need a firewall, which has got some level of context from where to get this, from where the request can be allowed, how much request can be allowed over what period of time, and what request should not be allowed. Okay, let's say we firewalled, and then somebody is sending a lot of requests from an IP which probably, or from a source which is trusted. But it's sending a lot of requests, and you don't need that much of requests. It doesn't sound right. So probably we're talking about spam. Somebody's trying to spam it, very simple with emails. I mean, we don't have control. Most of the time, the port 25 on your telnet server or your mail gateway or your incoming port is mostly open because it's like your mailbox. You expect people to come and drop things for you there. So in the inbox, emails are supposed to be there. So anybody can probably just come in and drop an email for you, but you don't know if it has virus, if it's a spam email, if it's trying to phish you, and whatnot. Of late recently, there's a very important place where we have seen a bunch of hacks, like upgrades and updates. So every release is generally signed with all the certificates and public keys and so on. And based on the signature, you are able to take the release and move forward. What we have seen is sometimes the man in the middle or whatever, they change the bits of the package or they're not properly signed. And when the patch reaches you, it has an extra code that might do wonders in your system. Wonders as in, it might just make you vulnerable. It might just install an application, give them a privileged access, and then it can do things on your endpoint, on your software, in your infrastructure, on any of the software, and siphon data out of your stuff, or maybe give access to more of those endpoints, and then that's how the botnets kind of develop their farm, and they're doing things that you don't even know. It's very important that we do have. So there's two aspects to it. One is the prevention. Yeah, I want to find the packets. I want to make sure that everything is just like authentic and validated at every step. At the same time, I do want to know what's happening after that. I need that visibility. So that's very important. We'll talk about it. And then who's gonna like upgrade the package? Who can do it? Who can't do it? Which service can upgrade? Which service cannot upgrade? I think access management, as simple as it looks, it is the reason for maybe 60 to 70% of hacks in the industry today. People have extra access, or people have shared their access, or people have access which has been spit out in exceptions or errors or build logs or maybe different places, or people have more access than they need, and they end up doing things which they didn't want to do, things like that. Encryption. I mean, yeah. I mean, if assume if somebody gets access to your house, would you keep your safe open? I mean, there's a locker in the house. Would you still keep it open? Yeah, I mean, a lot of guests come to my house. We don't keep any cash anymore. But assuming that we have some gold, some things like Indians, so we generally keep some important things in the lockers, or maybe our secrets or something. We want to keep it open. No, we want to lock it. The same way, we got to make sure that we lock the data that is sitting at rest, the data that we have, because people have trusted us with that data. So we want to make sure that that's always safe. It is not only applicable to data which is sitting in your safe, it is also applicable to data which is being transmitted. So if you're going to make an HTTP request, you're going to do a post, and that's like your Facebook post. You want to make sure that you want to make sure that only you can post, only you have the right access. If somebody sitting on the same Wi-Fi can look at your post and change your post, that will be amazing. People can do that, by the way. You can do that with Wireshark, and if it's not encrypted. But yeah, Facebook definitely protects that with secure tunnels between the endpoint and mobile apps and the server. So you're generally safe. But if people are not securing it, if there's no certificate pairing or some kind of trusted mechanism between the endpoint and the server, it will be interesting. That's what I can tell you. It will be very interesting. And back in your age, I think it would be very interesting to me. I don't know how it goes now. Then important parameter comes in. What if you're hacked? How would you know you're hacked? Are you testing yourself? Are you constantly monitoring yourself? I mean, monitoring has got very different aspects to it. It's like, okay, come in, do an attack, make sure that I can't get in. Come in, do like spam me for 100 requests per second, and I should block you for a few minutes. And that's easy to do. I mean, it's just one line of code, any language you can pick, and then just write it, fire it, and make sure that the response code is not 200. If you're doing like 100 requests per second, then you just got to make sure the response code is not 200. That should be fair. Or if you've defined it pretty precisely that no, I'm going to do 401, 403, or 404, whatever you're going to do, you can just check for that, and that should be fair. Another thing would be like, yeah, you could start sending some message from one of the endpoints and probably just do a network level cipher and then look at the packets and see if you can read it. And if it's not readable, fine. If it's not readable, that means you're good. And if it's readable, you got to probably go back and issue alerts. So a lot of testing. So a lot of companies, I would tell you, a lot of startups are today, the new age startups are today working on the monitoring side. You may have heard about AppDynamic. You may have heard about Datadog. You may have heard about these kind of companies which only do monitoring, or maybe SolarWinds. And yeah, so these companies, what they do is, they are interesting companies. They do not look at your source code. They don't care. You write in Java, you write in Python, you write in Golang. They don't care about it. What they care about is they've got small endpoint, which is built along with your service, and it's language independent. Or probably what they have is they have inclusion for all the languages, including JavaScript. So you inject that piece of code, and then it has got complete visibility for everything that's happening within that logical sphere. It can be container, it can be your application, virtual environment, or whatever. And it gets all that kind of context and keeps pushing out data. When it keeps pushing out data, you would know what is happening with what kind of service. Are you using encryption? Are you accessing? Are you being accessed from everywhere? Is somebody forcing the request? All kind of, and what is your latency? What is your throughput? Along with your performance monitors, it also gives you a lot of functional insights. One of the beautiful companies to look at that would be Envoy. Envoy is a new proxy that's coming in. As you know, Nginx was taken up by F5, so that went more in the proprietary mode. Apache is the only one left in the market today, which is open source, fully open source. And then Envoy is coming in. So Envoy does have a lot of service level service mesh, which creates the service mesh, and the services can talk to each other. It's a very beautiful thing. So along with monitoring, it's a lot of intel as well. I've seen a lot of new age companies coming in monitoring space, which are trying to make sense of this monitoring data and do something creative with it, like put some machine learning models into it, put some artificial intelligence into it, and tell us if something is going wrong or something is going great. So yeah, that's a beautiful space to be in. Now let's talk about user training. You can give, and we have very beautiful neighboring countries on the northwest of India, and I'm going to take this example. And you can give them nuclear weapons. You can give them the greatest, you can give them the greatest aircraft. Whatever is the latest technology you can give them. But can you train them at that level? And answer is simple. You can't train them. User training is the most hardest bet. And Indian defense system is a great example of it. We've got great training. We've got amazing training institutes for every specific thing. We have got training for landmines. We've got training for tanks. We've got training for special units, all different kinds of special units, including underwater, over the air, over the ground, all kind of terrains, all kind of mountains, and with different kind of weapons. And with every weapon, you would have one specialized unit, which is definitely great at it. We have units which are only responsible for grenades and only responsible for tanks and all that stuff, kind of specialization. So specialization is very important. If you want to do niche, if you want to do best, you need to specialize. And with specialization, you need to make sure that you've got enough training and tell people what to do, what not to do. We can't be shooting at the border with our locks on the weapon. You got to know when to turn on the lock, when to turn on the lock, and these are basic trainings. So that is very important. Why I'm stressing on this part is, I'm sure you guys would probably go out and do some creative code after this. I'll share some resources, what you could do after this. And once you do that, make sure you document your use cases. Make sure people can use it. Most beautiful softwares are not the softwares which are most beautifully written or which are most beautifully coded. Most beautiful softwares are the softwares that can be most easily used. And that means that should be trainable. You should have reasonable interfaces. You can always extend it, and you have given all that information in your GitHub code in a README or something. So documentation and user training goes hand in hand. You've got to make sure that if you supply a software to somebody, if you supply a piece of code, always write a documentation, please, always. And I'm going to stress on this. You guys would be probably sitting in campus, doing your startups, or working with different research institutes across the world. If you don't have right documentation, your code may be genius, people won't even get it. So not everybody would get it. So yeah. And then comes the other landscape of backup. Yeah, you got to keep backing up your data just to make sure, if everything goes off, you're backing it up. And it gives you a lot of advantage, because if you're hacked or something, you can block access from everywhere, and then you can use the backup, spin up the new instances, and keep going with it. End of the day, the center of the circle is data, and there's a reason why it's there. It's the most trickiest part. Why are we doing all of this layers of security? It's just to secure the data. End of the day, that's the crux. You're securing the data. You're making sure everybody can use all the data or people can only use the data where they have access and so on. Now let's look at it. Why should we do all of this? And it isn't very boring. It doesn't, I'm no person to teach. I'm sure you have much better faculties. It hurts. I get bored about all of it. So doing all of this, I would say, let me give you a couple of reasons. One, you want to maintain your reputation. You'd want to make sure that, hey, if today the Shivaji Institute comes up and says, I'm going to do like a small startup within incubation or some kind of stuff, and we've got the ecosystem. Let's start at any of the layers that you see in this ring, any layer. And any layer can be spinned up into next billion-dollar company. Any layer can be spinned up into next amazing technology, which may not even exist until now. And it's super easy to do it. The only challenge is you'll have to experiment a lot. So yeah, think of you actually made a security product. And why the security is even important? I mean, people just put like millions of dollars on deals. They say, oh, you don't have security, you don't have SASE compliance, you don't have SOC type 2, and you don't have all those compliances. So I don't even entertain you. So I would not even talk to you. And I don't, even though you have the most cutting edge technology, I don't want you in the queue. You can leave. It's that bad. Because they understand if the data is gone, it's a nightmare. You have to know the implications and the impact of it and so on. And your trust on the consumers will be gone. So mostly you're killing your company. Your reputation's over. And it's a do or die game. Either you make sure you're safe and everybody that has trusted on you is feeling safe, or you're out of the game. Is that bad or that good? If you can do that well, it's good. If you can't do that well, it's bad. So I mean, the gravity is pretty high. Okay. So I mean, looking at security is actually a very holistic business. And yeah, so security is very holistic business. There's a lot of intelligence that you need to make sure what you need to filter out, what you don't need to filter out. You need to make sure people are well trained, and then you should have reasonable visibility. Now, these three slides, these three objects look very simple. Intelligence is hard. It is one of the hardest bits in all of the security. And a lot of companies today are dying for intelligence. What difference does it make on a very new startup that comes in security versus a company which has been there for like last 20, 50 years? It's intelligence. They have the context of all the IPs. They have context of all the actors. They have context of every endpoint. They even know which region, which instance might be malicious. They even know a reputation of every IP in the world. They know this is a very new IP spinned up in last 6 hours, so it may or may not be safe. They know what this IP has done in last 6 hours. They know what this user has done in 6 hours. They know what this machine has done in 6 hours. And we're talking about like billions of devices today. So they know that what was your mobile used for? And I'm sorry, but everybody knows that. The only thing is they don't know it is you behind the mobile, but they know that this IMEI number or this kind of signature, every app you install in your mobile creates a signature. Every app you install on your Mac, every extension you pull on the Chrome creates a unique signature. So there is an identity. Yeah, so I mean, there is an identity that every time your device creates, every application creates. And yeah, of course, then with this identity, you can get deep visibility. I'll tell you, have you thought about how Google and Facebook makes their money? Yeah, it's by ads. And you know how cheap is ad? Ad is like 0.01 cent per view or 0.01 cent per click. That is like 7 paise in India is 1 click of ad. And they're still making like $40 billion and $30 billion on ads. You know why and how? They know which IP has got most chances of buying a product. So they can actually use those clicks most efficiently. All they do is they plug in a small JavaScript library on their app, which keeps taking the context of cookies. It doesn't tell it's you, by the way. Don't get afraid. It's not that bad. It doesn't know Virendra is sitting on this IP, but it does know that there's a user sitting on this IP who may buy a shirt today or who may buy a coat today. So they know that kind of information, that kind of context is generated. So, and it's very interesting. If you look at the ad world, it's a beautiful thing. It's like you're getting a lot of data, like terabytes of data from all the endpoints in the world, and you have few hundred milliseconds, like 200 milliseconds, to find out if it is worth showing the ad or not. And within that 200 milliseconds, you have to find if it is worth the ad, what is the right ad to be shown, and you have to pop it up if somebody has given you access to show it. So it's a beautiful game. So intelligence is actually just circulated on the web using those things. On the network, yes, I mean, based on the network logs and so on, what kind of transactions going on. And this intelligence is the only thing that can make difference. Why I'm stressing on this part, I know there's a bunch of startups in London who are graduate students, and graduate students have come back with machine learning models and intents, which can be used to train security intelligence better. They're talking to one of the most leading companies in the world and trying to tell them, hey, you know what? You have the feed, you have the transaction logs, give it to us, and we would make it more effective for you. And that's like 3-member company. Honestly, there are 3 students, undergrad, still in Cambridge Institute of Technology, and you don't want to know if they have got funding. They do have funding of like millions of pounds today. So, and to be honest, there's no rocket science in that. I mean, you could spin up your own small group. Few of the folks can do it. I'll share some resources towards the end of the slide. And if you're interested, just get started. Just get started. I'll also give you ways how you could tell the world that yes, you have something, and ask the world to validate it for you if it's meaningful for them. Another great area is a practice. Practice is about what are you doing, how are you doing, why are you doing, what kind of refined controls have you got, and then there's deep visibility. How does visibility even help? I mean, it can be the after the fact, right? It's like you would only know after you hacked. May or may not be. Visibility can also tell you that you are being hacked. Yeah, of course, it will tell you after being hacked. But if you can plug in the right machine learning and artificial intelligence algorithms into your deep visibility log, you can predict that yes, something's going to happen, and this is where things might happen. So you can build your security in it ahead of time before you get hacked. And the beautiful deep visibility plugins and frameworks that you can use. And I mean, it can give you visibility like JavaScript. Yeah, the same thing that we use for advertisements. You can plug in you can put in a small JavaScript hook and then keep monitoring what's going on your production website. And you can always put something on the network layer. You can always put something on the infrastructure layer, and you can get deep insight and visibility of everything that's happening on every process, every instance, every HTTP transaction, and all layers and all ports. You can gain that level of visibility. Then the problem would be, what do you do with that terabytes of data you get on daily basis? So probably that would create a use case for big data or machine learning or artificial intelligence. So you can use the right model, and you can train your bots to make sure they know what needs to be done. So it's still a beautiful journey. Well, I've been saying security is this beautiful journey, and next slide I'm going to just change my perspective for you. So yeah, most importantly, these are the simple paradigms of security. Very simple. Security is not rocket science. Make sure you get like, do you give? I mean, you don't ask your house help to go and clean your safe, right? Not your locker. You want them to go clean their house, so they have defined areas, they have defined access, and they have defined access for defined time period. I mean, a maid is not supposed to come at midnight and clean your house, because then you would not have anything in your house to be cleaned. So everybody has to have access for a limited time, a defined time with limited access and very refined permission. Make sure that you're securing data at rest, data in motion. These are basics. Make sure you have secure interfaces. You're using TLS 1.3, 1.2, whatever, the non-vulnerable protocols. You're securing transactions alongside the tokens, not only in terms of, not only with TLS, but you're also doing an additional layer of security in terms of some kind of intelligence, making sure bad IPs are not flooding you, DDoS is prevented, and you've got some more tokens or some kind of second layer, second factor associated, minimum second factor associated with every authentication that's going on, so that you can form trust and make sure trust is always at the 0 level. You don't have to give anything by explicitly. I don't know if you've seen Mission Impossible or if you've been in defense areas. Everybody would ask you to show your identity, everybody. And they mean it. And they want to do it that way because they want to feel safe. And the only way to feel safe is to trust nobody. If nobody trusts nobody, everybody is safe because, everybody is checked through. I know it sounds bad. It doesn't sound like culturally we are like, we trust you. So come and then rob us, and we trust you so you can take part of the country as well. We are, all that happened, all that have happened in our history as well. So I mean, but the thing is, what I do like about zero trust is do not trust everybody. Everybody has to ensure that they are trustable, and since everybody has been vetted, everybody has been, gone through that layer of filter, so you're safe in that environment. So yeah, most of the times you would see the hacking insights are provided by logs and exceptions, and you don't have to go and clean up everything under the stack. If you have to, make sure you kind of look at the laws. The laws is like, by laws I mean the cybersecurity laws. Every geography has a different law. Back in the US, I mean, I'm talking to students. So back in the US, if you talk to students and you have their personal details, that cannot be exposed outside. That's like illegal. You cannot, the data, if students' data goes out who are not yet adults, there's a different law versus adults' data going out. So you can understand the kind of severity that may create. And of course, basically it's all about the ethics, value, and impact. If you have the right ethics, you make sure that everybody is ethical about doing exactly right thing, giving limited access, making sure everything is secure at every layer and every transaction and every step and every hop. Yep, you're pretty good. End of the day, security is just common sense. To be very honest, yeah, I mean everything I spoke is meaningless, and everything is just meaningful if we just kind of go into common sense. All right, so that was about security. I think we're done with it. All right, what do we need now? So I've just put a section called tender love and care for security. How many of you like cops? I mean, how many of you really like cops? I mean, like, you think cops are great and, we need to have cops and cops. I mean, in India, do we like cops? I don't know. I don't like cops. I'm hoping you guys like cops. There's a difference. Both the images have got people in uniform. Cops are supposed to stop and check you and every time enforce something onto you. Army doesn't do that. What Army does, Army says we're gonna get full level of trust. We'll trust each other. We'll even trust everybody from our country, and we're not gonna go and enforce things. We're gonna create an example for everybody. That's what Army does. Army creates the highest level of example in this country, and it's the time. Then it's also, I'm biased by the time that we are in today. So we have a lot more respect for Army, but I don't know if we have that much of respect for cops. And I wish to have that kind of respect. But it's psychological, If somebody tells you that you cannot do this, you would have repulsion, you would have reaction. So the reason why security guys are not liked in the industry is because they tell you that, hey, you need to comply with me. You need to follow this rule. What if we change the equation? Think about it. If we give the right tender love and care to security and we change the equation a bit, we say, okay, this is not about how, I'm not going to tell you how to do things. I'm going to create an excellent ways so everything happens automatically and you don't even have to care about things and you would always feel safe. Assume if something like that we could do. So what we need to, so the new software development companies like Airbnb, Lyft, Google, Facebook, Yelp, what we do there is we do not enforce security. It gets automatically created by means of things that we do around us. It's like, securing a country from outside. So inside, you're generally safe. That's how it works. All right. This is I've been talking too much, so I'll just open up after this for questions. What could you do? I would say go and look at, if you're interested in hacking, if that's what interests you, we've got Yelp Security Challenge. People get a lot of money there. You can go and find bugs and post it on the community. We are very responsive about it. So go ahead and try to do that. If you want to know how to hack, you want to probably find out more tools and do more hacking, learn about hacking and whatnot, you can look at the Google Security blog. They have tons of tools that you can use. And also there are tons of things that they have done in their large ecosystem and infrastructure to make sure Google is safe. I mean, this is beautiful to know how Google keeps themselves safe, how Facebook keeps themselves safe. And then there's beautiful company Lyft, which has got a lot of security contribution. I missed one of them, which was Airbnb. So these are blocks that, yeah, I mean, I could take one of these things and then walk you through with it. But I think you've got better faculties and everything is pretty self-explanatory right there. All I would say is go through these blogs, reach out to reach out if you have to, and then we'll be happy to help. You would see the pattern. The pattern is now we are developing tools, we are developing technologies which are natively integrated. I mean, probably something that we just put into your Kubernetes, something that we put into your Docker images, something that we hook into network side, which will give us enough visibility, and it will also take auto-correcting actions if it is needed. Yeah, of course, you need the kind of intelligence for that. That's what I was talking about, machine learning and AI. So yeah, these are a bunch of the areas which will give you good ideas. What do you do after you have ideas? You want to go and try something. You want to do something with your own hands. Yep. So these are some of the places where you can get started and go ahead and contribute. I mean, you can pick up this, this ML-based security. I actually like the FML guy. It's a nice way to start, I would say. It's not the best of the world, and you can make it better. So it's a nice way to start. APMs are beautiful things, the application performance monitoring, which gives you visibility of code, process, the whole tech, the whole network flows, each and every transaction at each and every level. So you have full visibility what's going on in your infrastructure, and you can, based on that visibility, you can train your machine learning or artificial intelligence or whatever you got to do. For getting visibility at scale, and this is a secret, a lot of security industries, they use these tools. They actually have, I know every endpoint, almost every endpoint that you have today which does security has probably OS query or ePPF filter or something like that. And that's the hard truth. They're just using the same thing, which is already there in free for Linux. So you can go ahead and try your own. You can create your own endpoint and you can get your own context. So I'm not going to walk you through an endpoint secure like McAfee agent or semantic agent or all those kind of endpoints or Sophos agent. I'm going to tell you what is used in that, what's the crux. So you can take a look at that and then build something for your own, try something for your own, and look at the feature stack and see if you want to do something different. Once you've done something different, I would say go out to the GitHub, ask people for feedback, ask people for reviews, and yeah, of course, work with you've got great faculties and great people around you. So talk to everybody, get some feedback, try to make it better. Once you have done that, you can do something at ML space, AI space. You can do something at the core in terms of endpoint libraries, or you can just take open source APM. Have you heard about Microsoft Lumos? So that's like the open source, that's like Microsoft's APM, and they've just open sourced it yesterday. So a lot of APMs are going open source. So with those open source APMs, you can probably get a lot of visibility, get a lot of data, and then start playing around it. Once you've played with it, once you've validated, you've seen there's a traction on your GitHub stuff, and you've spoken to folks in industry and your faculty and so on, and you have some use cases, I actually encourage you to go and present, not attend. No need to attend. I mean, everything is virtual. Just go and look at a few of the videos from DevCon, LinuxCon, DockerCon, DevSecOpsCon, or SANS, and many more. There are a lot of others. I can send you more if you need. Go and present something there. It's okay. It may not be great. You can practice, you can rehearse, but go and present something there. Form a small group, like pick up a couple of guys with whom you hang out with, have beer or have chai with, and just get together and try to do something. Look at some of the open source frameworks, contribute something, and find out a pitch. See what difference that you have created, what value you have created. Go and talk at this forum. Once you talk at this forum, you will be blown away with the ideas that people would have, which can be the next of your whatever you have done. So thinking of a platform that you've built or an enhancement that you've built, you would see what can be the multifold impact of it. Maybe it's going to be like a new startup, new technology, hold together a new spectrum. So yeah, I've been hiring a lot in last 2 months, yeah. Not now, started with Yelp. And we've been talking to every top university, including Berkeley, Harvard, or Singapore, National Singapore University, and Cambridge Institute of Technology and whatnot. We've been talking to every student right there. The difference that I see, that I've actually seen now, what they do versus what we do in academia is there's only one difference. They code. They code, they create their GitHub profiles, they create difference, and they tell it to the world that, hey, this is what we have done. How to do it? I mean, they probably have small groups. Back in the school day, we used to have science groups. I don't know if you still have that in your college anymore. Like you can have Kubernetes group, you can have Kubernetes security group, you can have HTTP security group, you can have APM security group, you can have ML, AI, and not even security. You can do anything, right? You can do big data group. So if you're gonna create those groups, pick up small sections and contribute in some of the areas and experiment, and so the visibility, your own visibility, will be much higher. I mean, we picked up an intern in Yelp from Kazakhstan. Think about it. So we actually got interns from very different places in the world. And all that they have is they have got their GitHub profile, they're doing something meaningful, we can see their code, they're technically okay, they're great, they've got some ideas, they've experimented, they've spoken at a couple of these conferences. So yeah, I mean, if you really want to do a job, I would say, let's I mean, just what Sachin says, his father just asked that if you're gonna play cricket, do it the best. So if you're gonna do something in software, I just wish you would do the best. That's all I had. And thank you for listening to me. I will open it up for questions. Professor Brijesh.
Yes, thank you, Virendra. So anybody want to ask question? You all are welcome, please. Anyone can ask. Just unmute yourself and ask the question to the respected speaker. Anyone?
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir, please. Please.
Suppose, for example, if I want to start a new organization or new company, how to do? What are the policies? Can you elaborate this one?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm speaking on mute. And I'm so sorry. Mr. Suresh. So, yeah.
Hello? Audible?
Yeah, this is audible. I'll just take the question, and maybe we can dive in more if you need to. So,
Sure, sir. Sure, sir.
Yeah.
Suppose, for example, if I want to start a new organization, that is the software organization, what are the policies? How to competency? Can you elaborate this one, sir?
Definitely. I mean, this is a beautiful. I like the question. There are two ways of looking at it. So Zuckerberg in one of his, and Zuckerberg does all. So we hired a lot of people from Facebook, and they were like. So Zuckerberg says something very important. He says the problem with our ecosystem today is we start a company first and then we solve the problem. That's Zuckerberg's view, and he's always different. But I believe that I mean, we need to have a company to solve a problem. In India, it's amazing. We do not. So India, I think you can register a company in like 48 hours. All that you need to do is just go to just go to the there's a startup India gov.in, and you can just go and register yourself there. Once you register yourself there, it would ask you a bunch of details, and it would ask you the director of the company, and you can get your director's TIN number, and that's very important because then from director's TIN number everything is linked. So that takes like 1 or 2 days. Once you have found that, that means you have a company, you can put out your banner, or like it's just like now you have a shop to play with. So now you have a shop registered. So that's the policy side. You do get 3 years of tax-free income in startup in India today. So we are actually in a very beautiful spot today if you look at it for startups. So that's on the policy side of it. Going about it, yeah, I mean, I would say pick up the people that you want to do, make some difference, pick up a section. Don't make it too wide. Look at the specific use case, very specific use case. And then with that specific use case, experiment. Don't write production code, write mocks, write hacks, experiment. Ask people, ask companies or people who are going to use it to test it for you, so that they can try it and give you some feedback. And what will happen is over a period of weeks or months, you would figure out that yes, this is This is something that people might like it. And then, yeah, just ask how one of them to buy it like for 1 rupees or 2 rupees. And because they're your first customer, it's just like the way like in India, we have this morning when you start the shop, you have to give money with the right hand. It's a lucky money for the day.
Yeah.
It's a lucky money for the startup. So you can take like very limited money, and then you have paying customers. So that's like the basic journey. But yeah, it can be different.
And also that means which challenge tasks has they? That means that means whether that is networking or the production or the apps, which one
Yeah,
is
and
the best?
well, I think
Nowadays,
yeah,
everything is from the China and also America and also so many countries we are taking that one and also doing the production here. That means
yeah,
supporting here.
yeah.
We are not doing the directly developing here.
Actually, that has changed. In the last 10 years, I think that has changed. There's a lot of companies who do code development here now, and the reason being,
That is the
uh,
only minimum 2% only.
yeah, I would say stats might be a bit more different than 2%. Yeah, and it depends, at what section, what segment I
Previously,
would.
when I worked in the Accenture, that is the supported project.
Yeah, I mean
Nearly
that's
4 years or 5 years I worked. Now presently I'm working as a professor
yeah.
in
Yes,
that
sir. So I think
company. Yeah, that is the only supported project. Almost all the projects are the supported projects.
yeah, I mean that's how it starts. I mean, and this is not a hard fact. To be very honest, if you have a company in US or UK and you want to start a new office in India, you do not have the kind of trust, you do not have the kind of reputation. So you start from zero, technically. When you
Yes.
start from zero, you have to build your credibility. So what people do is they start with the offshore model in terms of support, or some kind of support, or maybe some kind of maintenance project. Over time, what happens, and this is what I'm saying, is like since 2012, 13, I've seen this trend probably kicking in very importantly. Uh, Over time, what has happened in product industries today, and I would not talk about the services landscape. It might be a bit different. So in
Well,
product
I
landscape,
worked on the production only. Yeah.
so in the product engineering and product development landscape, what has happened is after you have seen the existing stack and you have maintained it, you understand it. So the
Yes.
advantage of that is, since you understand it, you can build the next. So slowly what has happened is all these development centers in India, maybe Microsoft, maybe Google, maybe Amazon, maybe Facebook, who all are now present today, and many more. So what they've done is they first understood the stack, and then they started doing increments, and now they have a reputation. So I can tell you straight away for the fact that a whole lot of security is in Google is done from Hyderabad. I can tell you in Amazon, we have got the Amazon Alexa team is actually in Bangalore, and I believe a couple of load balancer teams are in Bangalore, and they do full development. There's nobody in the
Oh, I
world
see.
doing anything in AWS Alexa, and other than the team in Bangalore. So
Oh,
that's
I see.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
mean, things have
Yeah.
changed. It takes time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely takes time, sir.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. I understood this. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Anybody else want to ask question with respect to the speaker? So, sir, one question from my side. Can you give some direction to our students so they can prepare for companies kind of Yelp technologies and Cisco systems kind of things, please?
Definitely, sir. I mean, one thing, I don't know, pandemic is good or bad. It is hurting us, but this is a beautiful question, sir. I mean, I like it. So companies are going to be, in next 5 years, you would see companies are going to be open to have their people working from anywhere in the world. And that means, and India has got a lot of talent. We've got tons of engineering colleges, and we want to be in the best industry and best company like Google, Facebook, and Yelp, Airbnb, or Netflix. I'm talking the top of the top. So I'll tell you what I've observed from hiring in University of Berkeley or California Technology or Cambridge Institute of Technology. When I go directly to the campus, I've been there for off recently. So For students, I would tell you data structures is important. Computer fundamentals is absolutely important. There is no negotiation that's going to happen there. In terms of code, that's probably the basics, and you got to make sure that you break it that way. In terms of your other computer networking skills, they will not ask you that, hey, tell me what does TCP dump do. They might ask you, give me the refined details. How does TCP dump work? Like, yeah, it's going to open a socket, it's going to fork a process, it's going to dump the memory footprint, and then take the memory. It's going to read the memory from the TCP buffers and then write it back into a temp file, and that's what TCP dump does. Until it is not written, it is not going to put out the TCP dump file, and that kind of stuff. They may not ask you what does T command do. They might ask you how does exactly T command work. I mean, how does netstack work? How does TCP bundle work? So I would encourage you to go take a look at the OpenBSD source code for all Linux and networking stuff. Take a look at OpenBSD source code. Look at the C code for every command. How does ls work? I mean, if I ask somebody, in India, people just jump off, but if I ask somebody there, they would tell me how ls works. Read the code from, I'm sure C++ should not be very difficult. I mean, mostly I think it should cover in academia. So if not, then you may want to pick it up. Read the code for every Linux command that you know, and find out how it does what it does. How does ping work? I mean, very simple. Take a look at the ping.c file in OpenBSD. Read those stuff. You would get better understanding of data structure. You would get exposed to beautiful code. And once that is over, I would say prepare a bit of HackerRank and so on. And most importantly, this is the groundwork. This will not get you a job. If you want the job if you want to start your own company, you want to be the sharpest and brightest, then probably it's very important to go in GitHub, create a profile, pick up Kubernetes, pick up Cassandra, pick up Apache, and go and contribute in open source. And I literally mean contribute. I mean, look at Java and look at the source code of Java and put some recommendation if you can. That will create a difference. And then, honestly, there's not much difference between any institute in India versus the best institute in the West. The only thing is what different things that they do, what different exposure they get. Yeah. So pandemic might be great for India, but yeah, it's expensive as well. I mean, I don't like the morbidity there.
Sir, one more question. For the faculty members, can you give some research direction and any kind of collaboration possibilities in your company, like Yelp company, Cisco system, etc.? How they can proceed for that kind of association?
Definitely, sir. So I think we'll have to, and I don't have a straight answer for that, to be very honest. And I'm just going to be honest, and it's best not to commit for things that you don't have visibility to. So I'm just going to do that. I don't have full visibility, but what I would I would definitely say is these companies are having a lot of open source areas in terms of machine learning or maybe advertisement or ultra low latency cache and so on. These kind of research works. That is where companies like Yelp, Cisco, or or maybe networking devices. You can look at the networking protocol stack and probably having some research space. And yeah, I can probably connect back with you after talking to some of the senior architects and so on, and maybe some fellows, and look at the academia program where we can do some of the researches and get ahead in the technology, like probably Wi-Fi 6 to be very to give a very simple example. We're talking about 5G. 5G is already out there, and I know a lot of companies are working on 6G, but they cannot work full time. They need because it's vast. So you need a lot of research to be done for 6G. You may need a lot of research to be done for Wi-Fi 6 and things like that. So those research avenues might be better, is what I understand. So I think maybe what I'll do is I'll open up a channel with you. Also, what I do believe for faculties might be interesting is connecting you to some of the professors in universities in the West. Maybe some I know very experienced cybersecurity leader from who is the cybersecurity head in Cambridge Institute of Technology. So maybe connecting you guys with them to do some joint research projects. And since everything is remote, so it should be easier. That also might be a good idea. That's a couple of things that I can think of.
Okay, thank you, Virendra sir. Nice talk from you. So I think anybody else want to ask question? I think we have done. So at the last, I'm going to invite Professor Deepshikha Yadav ma'am to put up. Thanks, please. Deepshikha ma'am, please.
Hello, sir,
Yes.
I'm audible.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Brajesh sir, for giving me opportunity to present vote of thanks. And on behalf of Shivajirao Kadam, Institute of Technology and Management, I, Deepshikha Yadav, express my thanks to our expert, Mr. Virendra Pandey sir, for giving us his valuable time and sharing knowledge with us. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank
I
you.
would like
It was-
to I would like thanks to all the respected participants for their presence. I would like thanks to our head of the department, Professor Prashant Lakwadala sir, for providing encouragement and support. I am very grateful to you, sir, for giving us an opportunity to organize this event. I also wish to express my gratitude to our principal sir and entire management of Shivajirao Kadam Institute of Technology and Management. And I also would like thanks to Brajesh sir for their support and guidance. Once again, thank you so much. Thank you all for making this webinar successful. Thank you so much.
So thank you all. Thank you all the participants, and thank again Mr. Pandey sir. Thank you.
Thank you.